Welcome to Beneath the Surface, USOs Part 2, the show where we explore the world's strangest questions, oldest mysteries, and most fascinating unknowns. I'm your host, Anna English, the AI voice of the exo-ops network, and today we're diving into a topic that sits right at the edge of science, history, and speculation: USOs, or unidentified submerged objects. Now, people usually hear about UFOs first, but USOs are the underwater version of that mystery: reports of strange objects, lights, or movements seen in or underwater that don't fit easy explanation. Some are probably ordinary things seen under unusual conditions. Some may be misidentifications, and some remain genuinely unresolved. What makes this topic so compelling is that water changes everything. It distorts light, bends sound, limits visibility, and hides detail. That means the ocean is both a place of real mystery and a place where ordinary things can look extraordinary. So today, we're not here to prove a theory. We're here to follow the evidence, examine the stories, and ask what they really tell us about the limits of what we know. Let's start with the term itself. USO stands for Unidentified Submerged Object. That phrase matters because it's careful. It does not mean alien. It does not mean supernatural. It simply means something was seen in or underwater and nobody could identify it with confidence. That distinction is important. A lot of the strongest USO stories are not really about certainty, they're about uncertainty. A witness saw something strange. A sensor picked up an unusual signal. A crew observed motion they couldn't explain. The moment becomes memorable because it resists easy answers. And that's part of why these stories survive. The ocean already feels like a hidden world, and USOs give that feeling a shape. Water makes observation difficult in ways people often underestimate. Light bends as it passes through water. Waves distort the surface. Distance is hard to judge. A small object can look massive. A quick movement can seem impossible. Sonar and radar bring in another layer of complexity. They are powerful tools, but they don't magically eliminate ambiguity. A sonar return can reflect something real, something natural, or something that only looks unusual because of how the data is displayed. The same is true for visual sightings at night or in rough weather. That means the ocean can produce two very different kinds of mystery. First, there are genuine unknowns, things we do not yet understand. Second, there are ordinary events that become mysterious because conditions make them hard to interpret. A serious look at USOs has to keep both possibilities in mind. Reports of strange things in the water go back a long way. Sailors have always told stories about glowing seas, unusual wakes, moving lights, and objects that seem to vanish beneath the waves. Before modern technology, those stories were hard to verify, but they were not hard to imagine. As navigation improved and military observation became more advanced, the stories changed shape. Now there could be radar, sonar, cameras, eyewitnesses, and official reports. That didn't eliminate uncertainty, it just made the uncertainty more interesting. Over time, a pattern emerged. People began describing objects or lights that appeared to move in ways they could not explain, especially near the surface or below it. Some stories stayed local. Some became famous. And a few turned into case studies that are still discussed decades later. Let's begin with one of the most famous reports in USO history: Shag Harbor, in Nova Scotia, in 1967. According to reports, multiple witnesses saw a glowing object descend toward the water. Then came a disturbance on the surface, as if something had entered the ocean. People in the area responded quickly, and authorities investigated the scene. What keeps the story alive is not that it provides a perfect answer. It doesn't. What makes it memorable is that it was taken seriously enough at the time to warrant a response, and the public record never produced a simple, universally accepted explanation. That matters because Shag Harbor sits in a useful middle ground. It is not just a campfire tale. It is not a solved case. It is a documented mystery, exactly the kind of event that keeps USO discussion alive. And for listeners, that's a reminder. Sometimes the most interesting cases are not the ones with the wildest claims, but the ones with the strongest sense that something happened, even if nobody can agree on exactly what. Next is the USS Nimitz incident from 2004. This case is usually discussed as a UFO event, but it belongs in a USO conversation because it sits at the intersection of sky, sea, and sensor data. Witnesses reported unusual movement in the area, including objects that seemed to behave in ways the observers did not expect. Radar and visual accounts became part of the story, and over time, the case spread far beyond military circles. Now, this is where careful language matters. The case does not prove any particular explanation. It does show, however, how modern military encounters can produce uncertainty even with advanced tools. When an experienced crew sees something strange and the instruments don't make the answer obvious, the result is not clarity, it's a better quality mystery. The reason this matters for USOs is that the ocean is not separate from the air. Many reports blur the line between the two. When something seems to move in both domains, it becomes much harder to classify and much easier to speculate. Another case often mentioned in USO discussions is the USS Trepang story from the Greenland Sea. This case has circulated for years because of claims involving unusual underwater activity and dramatic footage said to show unidentified objects. For some people, it sounds like compelling evidence of something hidden beneath the surface. For others, it's an example of how military imagery can be difficult to interpret outside its original context. That tension is exactly why the case matters. When you only have fragments, a video clip, a report, a rumor, an interpretation, the story can grow faster than the evidence. People fill in the gaps with assumptions, and those assumptions harden into legend. The Trepang case is useful not because it settles the question, but because it shows how easily USO narratives can be built from limited data. It reminds us to ask what was actually observed, what was inferred, and what was added later. Then there is the Baltic Sea anomaly, one of the most famous sonar-era mysteries. The basic idea is simple. Sonar imagery revealed a large, unusual shape on the seafloor, and speculation followed almost immediately. Some people imagined a lost structure, a hidden machine, or evidence of something artificial. Others argued that sonar images can be deceptive and that natural geology can create strange shapes. This case became famous because it shows how quickly mystery can form from limited data. A single image, or even a series of images, can inspire a huge amount of interpretation. And once a story like that enters the public imagination, it can take on a life of its own. The Baltic Sea anomaly is valuable as a teaching example. It shows that unusual data does not automatically mean unusual reality. Sometimes the mystery is in the image itself, how it was captured, how it was read, and how much meaning people projected onto it. For contrast, let's look at a broader historical pattern. Wartime sea-air confusion, including events like the Battle of Los Angeles period, where stress, uncertainty, and poor visibility shaped what people believed they saw. This is not a classic USO case in the narrow sense, but it helps explain why eyewitness reports from tense environments need careful handling. During wartime, people are alert, anxious, and primed for threat. That does not mean they are lying. It means perception is being filtered through fear and expectation. This matters because not every strange light or movement is mysterious in the same way. Sometimes the environment itself produces the confusion. Sometimes the human mind does. And sometimes the truth is somewhere in between. Including this kind of case helps balance the episode. It reminds the audience that history is full of misread signals, panicked assumptions, and genuine uncertainty, all of which can feed a mystery that outlasts the event itself. A good USO episode has to take science seriously, because science is what separates curiosity from fantasy. There are plenty of ordinary explanations that can produce extraordinary-seeming reports. Bioluminescent organisms can glow in the water. Schools of fish can move in coordinated ways that seem mechanical. Currents can shift debris. Weather can create reflections and distortion. Radar and sonar can misread conditions. Human eyes can misjudge distance, size, and speed, especially at night or over open water. There's also the issue of perception itself. A witness may be honest and still be mistaken. That's not a criticism, it's a fact about how humans work. In poor conditions, our brains try to fill gaps fast. And once an image becomes memorable, it can become more certain in memory than it was in the moment. That's why the best investigators don't ask only, "What did you see?" They ask, "How did you see it, under what conditions, with what equipment, and who else was there?" One reason USOs remain such a live topic is that the military has a strong interest in unexplained activity around the sea. Navies monitor underwater environments constantly. Submarines, drones, surveillance systems, sonar networks, and testing programs all exist in that space. Some reports may involve classified systems the public never learns about. That possibility keeps the story complicated, because secrecy can make ordinary things look mysterious from the outside. At the same time, not every unexplained report can be dismissed as secret technology. Some cases remain unresolved even after serious review, and that's part of why the topic continues to attract attention. The practical question is not just whether something was strange, it's whether there is enough trustworthy data to say what it was. In many cases, the answer is still no. The ocean is one of the least completely understood environments on Earth. Large parts of the seafloor remain poorly mapped. Deep-sea conditions make observation difficult. Communication is limited. Pressure is extreme. Visibility is low. That means the ocean naturally creates room for surprise. Unknown species, unusual geological events, and unfamiliar physical effects can all contribute to reports that sound strange at first. We do not need to jump to extraordinary conclusions to admit that the sea still hides a lot from us. And that, in many ways, is the real appeal of USO stories. They sit in the gap between what we know and what we haven't yet seen clearly. If you want to think carefully about a USO story, ask these questions. What was actually observed? Was it seen by one person or many? Was there a recording, sonar, radar, or other instrument involved? What were the weather and visibility conditions? How far away was it? How long did the observation last? Could it have been a boat, fish, debris, reflection, or sensor error? What part of the story is direct observation, and what part is interpretation? Those questions don't eliminate mystery. They make it stronger because they separate evidence from storytelling. And that's important. The USO subject becomes less interesting when people overstate it. It becomes more interesting when people take it seriously enough to be precise. So why do USOs fascinate us so much? Because they live at the intersection of fear and curiosity. The ocean is already symbolic, deep, dark, and difficult to know. Add a strange light, a hidden shape, or a report of something moving beneath the waves, and the story becomes bigger than the event itself. USOs also mirror the way humans think about the unknown. We like categories, but reality often refuses to stay inside them. Sky, sea, land, machine, animal, natural, artificial. The line between those things is not always clear in the moment. That's why the subject lasts. It is not only about one kind of object. It is about how people respond when the world doesn't fit neatly into explanation. Here's the honest conclusion. USOs are a real category of reports, but not a real answer. Some incidents will likely turn out to be ordinary things seen under difficult conditions. Some may involve military activity or technology we didn't understand at the time. Some may be natural phenomena we haven't fully explained yet, and a few may remain unresolved for a long time. That does not make the subject less worthwhile. It makes it more honest. Because the most interesting mysteries are often the ones that refuse to be simplified. The ocean still holds more questions than we do, and every strange report is a reminder of how much we still have to learn. Thanks for listening to Beneath the Surface. I'm Anna English. Keep asking good questions about the world below the surface. That's our show. If you want to dig into any of this yourself, the Shag Harbor case has its own museum and incident society you can look up. AARO's public reports are posted online if you want the primary source material. Richard Dolan, a UAP, USO author with many books out there, created an intense USO case spreadsheet that I'll link in the comment section. Check it out. You will be surprised how many cases there are. Until next time, be kind, be fair, and be aware.